Hey everybody, it's me, Undead Viking. Last year, I know a few of you have, well actually more than a few of you, have emailed me and asked me if I was going to be doing a top games of 2014. And I know it is already February, and it's something that I've wanted to do, and my month of February, just on a personal level, has been really, really busy, and I do apologize for that. And January, for that matter, has been really busy. I have the vast majority of a best of 2014 created. I just, I take my best of the year videos very seriously, and I realize it's going to be late, and I realize it's probably going to be out of time for a few people, but I'm not going to put out one that's like half-assed, if you will. So I apologize for the language. So I appreciate your interest in hearing about that, and I thank you for letting me know that you want to see it. I've just been far too busy to really do that one justice, and basically I don't have an hour and a half to sit in front of the camera all at once to do it. You know, my daughter's in 7,000 different events now, whatever. Blah, 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 blah. So anyway, a game that is going to be on my top 10 list for 2014 is going to be Heroes Wanted, however. And this is a game that I've played a ton of, and I've had a lot of fun with, and I've greatly enjoyed my conversations with the designer Travis Chance, and he asked me if I would do a quick little overview of the Heroes Wanted Stuff of Legend expansion, and normally I don't like doing expansion reviews, mostly because these things take a while, and it's just like it's tough to like. You know, just like, okay, you know, remember the old game? Okay, now let's talk about this new thing. And it's just, I don't know, it's not like it's like a new fresh thing, if you will. So, it's not usually my cup of tea, if you will. Basically, if you've watched my videos before, you know that, like, there's something I want from my expansions. And basically what I want from my expansions is I want more stuff. And I don't want you going in and gumming up the gears. And Travis explained to me what the expansion was, and it's exactly what I was looking for, and I was super excited to try out the new cards. And this way I get them earlier, so yeah, I'm a sucker for that. So, but anyway, so he sent me this, and I played it out, sadly. But I'm pretty excited about what I'm going to be able to show you here. And so let me show you all of the doodads that you're going to get with this expansion, and then if you own the original game, I can't think of a reason why you would want to get this. And if you don't own the original game, this is a great way to pick them up through the Kickstarter that's going on right now. But regardless, let me show you what's all the gears and the gunk that's in this box here, and then we'll come back and I'll talk a little bit more about why this made a great game even better. All right, cool. This is the Heroes Wanted Stuff of Legend expansion. As always, the same caveat I always give. This is a very high-end prototype that Travis Chance sent to me, but just in case, like, if the artwork slightly changes or if the gameplay is slightly altered, you know, that may be the case between now and the time that the game is published. As I said, the Kickstarter is completely funded at this point, and so it is going to come out. So, I mean, if that's something you're worried about, which I doubt you are, you might want to check that out, but if you back this, you are going to get a copy of it. So, this is obviously the game board. Thankfully, you know, it's like, it isn't that you know, it's a good thing. I've played the original Heroes Wanted enough that I've, you know, kind of gone through all the things that the different scenarios that were given to me in that particular one. So I was really happy to have brand new scenarios and things to play. Just quickly going over each of these, I'm not going to stress on them too much. The cool thing about this particular map, the Wyoming Wagon Wheel map, is that you basically, if you can kind of tell, you have like this kind of like weird shimmery outline of these cop cars here, and you see this little portal there, and obviously you can see this is Wyoming and this is Zeta City. Well, this is like an alternate universe type of situation. You can kind of see this the Old West, and if you read a lot of comic books like I did when I was young, you know that the whole going between different realities was always something that happened, especially in kind of like the Silver Age era of comics, which is, as I said in my original review and as I've said before in this review, I think that is where the designers of this game are firmly entrenched. They aren't in the grim and gritty world of of the, you know, and actually think about it, you know, that would be kind of a neat expansion for them to do grim and gritty Heroes Wanted. But this is definitely prior to the era of when Watchmen and Dark Knight Returns came, before we had that shift in the comics world. And so you have this weird alternate reality, and so you're actually going to be teleporting back and forth through different portals as you move through the map. And so you kind of have to, like when you move your hero from place to place, you actually have to like plot your movement, because every time you touch a portal, and there'll be more as you play, you will go back and forth, and so you actually have to plot that out within the action board. I'm just going to flip over quickly to the other side. And obviously these play just as normal. And if you're wondering about any of the rules and how to play the game itself, I do invite you to watch my original review, which I will link in the comment section of this particular game, and you can see how this game is played. This one, once again, firmly makes me believe that they are entrenched in the kind of jokey, fun era of superheroes. I mean, superheroes were like important, but I mean, they didn't take themselves as seriously as they do now. But this is called Ghosts and Games, and literally in this map, what happens is that the villain is a ghost that is hunting a game store, and as he goes to the different gaming tables where gamer geeks are playing, he will actually create minions in those locations. You roll randomly, and you see 1 through 6 is the locations of the particular places where he can create minions, and then actually then you will roll to see how many minions you get, and then you will roll a third die to tell you where you start putting those minions. So, for example, like I don't have any 6-sided dice handy just at this moment, but this hexagon is included, and it's going to be used for a lot of things, but it's used in this particular board. And when you roll a die, you will actually, like, so if you roll a 5, you'd say, okay, it's going to show up in this particular spot, and then you roll another die to say how many are going to be there. So, like, say they summon 4 minions, and then you're going to roll another die, and then that's going to tell you where you start putting them down. So if you rolled a 2, so if you rolled like 4 minions, table 5 out of 2, you'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, like that, and you'd populate them there. And the interesting thing about this scenario is that when those minions show up, if there's something in that spot, then they don't show up there. So if for whatever reason the entire table was completely surrounded, no minions would be summoned in that particular spot. So it's just kind of one of those cool little random things that happen. Obviously, there's a spot for the villain, a spot for the headlines. And I should have mentioned something with this one. I apologize for not pointing this out. You'll notice that there is no spot for the villain because of the fact that you got those 2 different areas. And the reason for that is what makes this one really fun is that you actually have 2 villains for this one. And so there's a villain in each era. And so you have to actually take them both out, which makes that for a very, very fun and exciting scenario, actually, with Zeta City and Wyoming. So you get 2 new scenarios, which, great, awesome. You know, if you, I'm going with the assumption that you've played the original game, so I'm just going to kind of show you the stuff that you get with this. And as I've always said, I always really like expansions that just give me stuff. I don't want a bunch of new rules. I don't want a bunch of new ways to play the game. I don't want you to change the way I play the game. Just give me more stuff. So you can see over here we got new headlines. You know, the different things that we'll be placing here. You know, what people will collect. You know, and score on. And those are pretty standard, you know, here just one randomly. Deal 7 villain damage, KO'd 1 henchman, and KO 2 underlings. So, you know, just pretty standard. There's the points you get as far as those go. You get new quirks. Quirks are like one of those things about the game that you either like them or you don't. And this is a game and it is a game that is, you know, to be played and to be won, but it is also a game that doesn't take itself so seriously. And so you kind of have a party atmosphere with quirks. So, Kindergarten, whenever you play an attack action in the hero phase, you must state the first letter of the action you're playing, the name of the action, then count up from 1 to the amount of damage you're dealing. It's just something that you have to do that, like, makes it, like, fun to play, and you kind of have to make yourself kind of seem a little silly. I had this one the last time I played. Whenever you play an action during the hero speak, you must barely move your lips when you speak. I'm gonna play this action. I'm gonna strike. Yeah, so you can see, the quirks, and obviously those were present in the first game, but they give you more of those, and those are very, like, as I said, lighthearted, and you're trying to have fun with them and whatever. Now, the big thing with it is that you're getting a bunch of new heroes and a bunch of new villains. Just quickly, I'm going to show you some of the villain cards. Actually, I'll show you a lot of the villain cards. You know, as always, you're just creating, you know, and once again, they like having fun with this. So, like, you have a golem, you have the thumb, which is literally a thumb, and then, you know, banshee screaming at you, squid, you know, with the little squiddy hair, and of course, an evil doll, which is always nice. Now, of course, you have to have some good villains, and here's the bottom part for, like, you know, the section villain B that you're creating, and, you know, just reduce damage dealt. And this, you know, I'm not going to read these off. You can read them. But, I mean, this is one of those things where when you add a bunch of stuff like this, it's a bunch of new ways that the game can be played and a bunch of new combinations. And you can't. I've always loved the artwork in here. You know, it fits the theme perfectly. It fits everything that you're looking for. Obviously, Ancient and Squid. You know, those two just look like they should go together. Here, because of obviously the whole, you know, squid. So he's an ancient squid, you know, which I love. I love the whole cool that you're creating that villain. And of course, you know, and this is just my personal opinion. You can take it or leave it. But as I went through all of these different villains, I do like the clockwork guy here. But I would have to say that the undead villain is probably the coolest of all time. No personal preference or anything like that. It's just my thoughts, if you will. So, anyway, so you have a bunch of new villains that you're going to have to fight and defeat. But, and also, quickly, I'm going to show you, you get a bunch of new Hero B cards. You know, tons of these. Spooky. Tons of cool things. She's kind of works out a little bit, but, you know, that's okay if that's your thing. You know, so you get a bunch of voodoo. And, you know, when I first saw this, when I saw Sir, I was like, what's C-3PO? And then I realized it was Knight Armor. But I thought for a second it was that. So you get a bunch of new cool bottom halves for everything. Saint, he's like a vampire killer. But you get a bunch of those. Always nice to have a bunch of new ones. But the big thing is with the heroes, you actually get 2 new hero types. Now, if you're familiar with the game here, I'll just show you some of the older heroes that you get. So you have, oh, I'm sorry, these are the supernatural ones. I don't want to show those just yet. But like Wraith, Butterfly, these are all the types of heroes you've come to love and come to enjoy. You know, so I actually had this guy last time I played, and I actually did really well with him. I won with Cricket, which is, I rarely win games, so I was actually pretty happy with that. So, you know, you have all these great new heroes that you're fully familiar with the way they are played, and, you know, as far as their hero types. But, as I said, mistakenly now, you do get new hero types, which would be a supernatural hero type, and that's this spot up here. Now, the big thing with supernatural heroes is that they have, well, first of all, they have this little gun that says they're magic. But what they have is that they are trying, and this is obviously, you know, a Dr. Stephen Strange lookalike, or, oh God, what's the guy's name from Venture Brothers? Oh, I'm sure somebody will post it and make fun of me. But anyway, regardless. So you have this guy, and you have this, you know, here's your about deal 5 damage to a character, retrieve all your basic actions. Each other hero must discard an action. That's a great power, right? That's awesome. But, notice it says Curse 4. You have to collect 4 Curse tokens, which are these little tokens over here. And you collect those 4 tokens, and then, as long as you have Curse tokens on you, you are cursed and you have a lesser action. So deal 5 damage to a character within range 1. So the range is totally decreased, and then you retrieve a random basic action. Not nearly as good as your better one. And so, like, here with the Eye of the Newt Salamander, do 8 damage any number of spaces away in a straight line. Gain of Fame. Great power. But now deal 5 damage to a character with range 3 in a straight line of, and you got to roll on the hexagon. So you got to hope that you actually get a good roll, and there's something within 3 spaces that you can actually affect. So once again, a drastically reduced power. Now you might be thinking, well, that stinks. How do I get that stuff back? Well, the thing about that is that you can get them back. Usually, like, you get to sometimes you get to discard one, like in this one. Like, if you do that, if you do not KO a character in this way, you lose 1 curse. You'd lose 1 with the Salamander for doing so. But all of the magic heroes get this power, which is the Meditate, which, like, you may lose 2 curses and retrieve a basic action, so they can take this action to do it. Or if they use it as a block, you lose a curse. So you do have ways to regulate that and to keep them out. Now, however, whenever you rest, you have this thing, which kind of stinks as a supernatural character. You have to roll a die when you take a rest action, and something happens. And it's usually something bad. The only time nothing bad happens is if you roll a 1, and then it isn't so much that something good happens, it's just that something doesn't happen that stinks. So nothing happens on a 1. So once again, supernatural characters are very powerful, but they have to mitigate that, which is a really cool action. I've been having fun playing with the supernatural characters. Okay, so here's the symbol. And these are like this symbol right here designates the newest, I shouldn't say newest, the other newest type of hero, and that designates that they are a mythic hero. So they're just like this brand new, unique type of hero. And you'll notice that they have a power obviously here, and then they also it's like they have this special little section here that makes them unique. After you reveal this hero, gain an additional charge action, so you get an extra action with those. And your charge actions have +1 moves, so you have these like special abilities that automatically affect your character. And here's like Arrow. After you reveal this character, gain an additional maneuver action. So there's something more to them, if you will. And the other thing that's really cool about them is that each one of them gets this bonus card that is specifically for them. So like this one is specifically for Arrow, and this one is for Helmet and Goat, and so on and so forth. And so you get that when you get the character. And so in this case, let me grab the one that says for Arrow. Just a moment. I just had it, of course, and now I can't find it. There it is. So when you get the Arrow, you have this cool power or whatever, and then you get this. And so you gain Swift Maneuver, discard up to 2 maneuver actions, lose an injury for each. See, and pretty good stuff, especially, like I said, if you play them, you understand these are actually really powerful. Deal 1 damage to a villain for each action retrieved this way. That's awesome. But then your maneuver actions gain +3 move. Like, how good is that on the bottom there? I mean, that totally, once you get to that part, you've kind of achieved like a kind of, well, mythical level of power for your character. So there you go. I mean, it's everything that I want in an expansion. It's just more stuff. It does change the rules just a little tiny bit with the 2 new types of heroes, but they're just two types of heroes, and it's added rules to the new stuff that you're adding. It isn't like you're taking the rules that already existed in the game and altering them. So this is my perfect type of expansion, but I'll explain a little bit more of that with my conclusion. I've been a kind of an all things geek guy for a long time, and I'm a role playing gamer. I'm a computer gamer. I'm a console gamer. I'm a comic book guy. I read fantasy novels, read sci-fi novels. And obviously I'm a board game guy. And when I saw this cover and I saw all the goofball heroes and villains and what have you, the first thing I said when I saw this was, this picture and all the little weird powers, especially the arrows, like this thing, like the lady like shooting the arrows into that skeleton right there. This reminded me totally from like just some random scene or random comic moment that I'd see in one of the best superhero comics that came out and sadly just kind of got cut short was the Top 10 by Alan Moore for America's Best Comics, which was one of my absolute favorite comics. And then, I mean, that kind of goes back a little ways, and you know, maybe they brought it back, but I do remember they stopped printing it, and that made me sad. That was back when I still collected comics, and I was able to still stay on top of things. So that's just as an aside, whatever. So I mentioned that I mentioned in my old review, and I mentioned in the gameplay portion. I'll mention it again. I really appreciate the fact that this is a superhero game that doesn't take it so serious. It isn't grim and gritty. This game, in another way, reminds me of a couple things. It reminds me of the Marvel Superheroes old role-playing game, and also a recent new role-playing game for superheroes called Icons. And it's just that it's more of a, I don't want to say lighthearted type of situation, but it isn't the, you know, don't get me wrong, I appreciate both Alan Moore, as I said before, and Frank Miller and things like that. But I mean, when the whole grim and gritty superhero world kind of came out, and there was stuff about it that I really liked, but also I missed the kind of innocence, if you will, of the superhero world, and that sounds weird to say that, but I mean, I grew up in an era where there was like a really good Godzilla comic book. I mean, like, seriously, and like a Marvel Godzilla comic book. And I can remember a scene where Godzilla was trying to like push over the Empire State Building, I think it was, and Thor was pushing on the other side. He was actually able to hold it up. I mean, it's just like things like that. I remember greatly about my youth and my comic book youth, and now if you put that into a comic, it just wouldn't fly, because now we have these very in-depth scenarios and stories, and everybody's got to have that human side, if you will, and everything like that. And I appreciate that. I do. You know, Invincible was one of the best comics to ever come. It was all about like superheroes and things like that. But I'm going off on a weird tangent here, and this would be an excellent thing to discuss on a podcast if I ever get Joel Eddy back on track for doing one of those. But that is why I one of the reasons why I greatly enjoy this is because of the fact that you just have a couple of random powers and abilities, and you make your superhero, and it just kind of, you know, harken back to that era, if you will, for me. And it doesn't hurt that the game-wise, mechanism-wise, is just a ton of fun as well. This might be one of the best two-player games out there. I mean, you can play with more, obviously. I mean, but as far as a two-player game, it excels as a two-player game. I mean, and honestly, I mean, two of my favorite comics of all time were the Marvel 2-in-1s, which started Thing and some random superhero, and Marvel Team Up, which was a great comic book about Spider-Man teaming up with a random dude. And if I remember correctly, The Brave and the Bold was like the same way, you know, just like Batman and the random hero of the week, you know, and they team up. And I always loved that, the whole like weird team up portion of it. And so when I play the game, it kind of plays out like that for me. So this is the exact, as I said, this is the exact type of expansion that I want. It does not change the rules that I know how to play the game. I hate having to relearn a game. Not because it's been sitting on my shelf for like a year and I haven't played it again. I hate when an expansion comes out and says, oh, okay, now all that stuff you learned, throw it out the window, because now we got this new way to play. You know, yeah, I'm not gonna, you know, and I don't play that expansion. I mean, perfect example, it would be Battlestar Galactica. I mean, I'll buy the expansions of Battlestar Galactica for the hero, for the players, you know, and for the, like, different, for more cards, if you will. But like the actual like Caprica map and things like that, no, that stays in the box or just gets thrown away. I don't play those, you know, and because I don't want to play that. You know, give me more stuff. Give me more heroes. Give me more villains. Give me more powers. quirks, all that stuff that this game comes with, that I can fold directly into how the game is being played already, and there's no hiccup, there's no wait, there's no stop, there's no nothing. I just all of a sudden have a ton more variability, a ton more stuff, plus I get 2 more scenarios that I can play the game and pit my heroes against. And so, bottom line, that's why this expansion is awesome. If you are a fan of the original game, there's no reason not to own this. Absolutely no reason not to own this. You're going to love it. You're gonna love the extra stuff. You're gonna love the new heroes, love the new villains. I'm repeating myself here, but honestly, and if you haven't played this and you don't own it, go check out my original review. If you are a fan of comics, if you've been a fan of comics for a long time, I can't recommend this one enough. The superhero genre, for whatever reason, I know the superhero genre, it hasn't been treated really well by the board game world, and that's unfortunate. I mean, there's basically this, and there's Sentinel Tactics for me, and both excellent games, and in the same way, I mean, one of them is, and they both have heroes running around and attacking, and one of them is kind of serious and more about the combat, which is Sentinel Tactics for me, which I love, and one of them is just kind of like, it's a weird, crazy kind of Euro superhero game, and that has that is literally different every single time that I play it, and that's why I love this. So pick it up, check out the Kickstarter. It's going through like gangbusters. Obviously, people are in love with the game. Check that out, and if you have any questions, as always, by all means, post those. I'll try to get those as soon as I can. I greatly appreciate you taking the time to watch this video, and until next time, I'm the Undead Viking. This is my gaming dojo, and you have yourself one heck of an awesome day. All right, bye-bye.